Are you ready? Yeah. Come, children, and listen to the tale of Jeremy O'Toole. Jeremy O'Toole was a traveler of sorts. He traveled from the mountains to the hillsides to the oceans, and to wherever else you can go that aren't mountains, hillsides, and oceans. Well, one day, he came across the small town of Showenpoke. In Showenpoke, he found these strange people, the very short people. They weren't quite dwarves, but they weren't quite people. And they were all dancing in merriment around these holes they dug in the ground of Showenpoke, and they're all playing their ukuleles and their harps, and they're dancing in these tribal forms. And Jeremy O'Toole thought, well, this is fun, I'll get in on this mess. And they're all dancing around in circles and not quite dwarf, not quite people like ways. Then Jeremy O'Toole asked one of the not quite dwarf, not quite people, why is this town called Showenpoke? That's a strange name for a town. And they replied, yes, we're aware that it's an odd name. We would appreciate it if you wouldn't tell the other surrounding towns. Considering we're not quite dwarf and not quite people, we're already quite embarrassed and have enough stress in our lives. Jeremy thought that this was sound reasoning and just carried on dancing. Until suddenly, there was an earth-shattering quake that shattered the earth, as earth-shattering quakes often do. And Jeremy thought loudly, so everyone heard him think it, what the hell was that? And one of the not quite dwarf, not quite people answered, oh, that's Crocketer. He lives on the Crocodile Hill over there. Well, what's going on? Well, he plays his folk music very loudly, and it shatters the earth in an earth-shattering way. And Jeremy O'Toole thought, well, I'll go talk to Crocketer and get him to stop playing his folk music so loudly. As he walked to the Crocodile Hill, where the Crocodile house was, he stepped up the Crocodile stairs and the Crocodile porch and knocked on the Crocodile door 2 + 1 times, thrice if you will. And he said, my name is Jeremy O'Toole and I want to talk to you, Crocketer. And Crocketer replied, no. Well, this did not discourage Jeremy O'Toole. He wasn't scared one bit. Well, he might have been scared one bit, but only one bit. I mean, he has a limit on how scared he can possibly be. So he knocked again, 1 + 2 more times, thrice, and he said, I'm coming in, Crocketer, and the crocodile door opened. As he walked in, he saw a crocodile room that was full of crocodile chairs, crocodile blocks, crocodile cats, and crocodile dust mice. And he found another set of crocodile stairs, and he walked up them. As he's walking up the crocodile stairs, he recognized the folk music, as by a very popular folk singer from around his travels to the mountains, to the hillsides, to the oceans, and to wherever else you can go, there are mountains, hillsides, and oceans. It was a man named, what was his name?
Woody Guthrie.
Woody Guthrie?
Woody.
Woody McGuffrey? Something
Woody.
McGuffrey?
Yes.
It's Woody McGuffrey, that was it, thank you. It was Woody McGuffrey. And as he's reminiscing on his memories of Woody McGuffrey, on his tales from the mountains to the hillsides to the oceans to wherever else you can go, there are mountains, hillsides, and oceans, he came across another crocodile door and he opened it. And there, across the room, he saw Crocketer sitting on a chair, listening to his electric gramophone and reading a piece of paper. And he said, is that you, Crocketer? And Crocketer replied, what? What? No, is that you? What? I can't hear you. I'm afraid I'm deaf in one ear. I'm also deaf in the other ear. You could say I'm deaf in both ears. So Jeremy O'Toole spoke up loudly, but to save my voice, I'm going to speak the same level. Well, Crocketer, my name is Jeremy O'Toole, and I've been sent by the not quite dwarf, not quite people of Showenpoke to ask you to stop playing your folk music so loudly. Crocketer replied, what? I can't hear you. My folk music is very loud. Then Jeremy O'Toole went up to him and said, could you please turn down your folk music? And he said, oh no, because I have to listen to my folk music so I can remember all the days of my travels to the mountains, to the hillsides, to the oceans, and to wherever else you can go that are mountains, hillsides, and oceans. And in Crocketer, Jeremy O'Toole realized he had found a kindred spirit. With Crocketer, he talked about their own travels from the mountains, hillsides, and oceans to wherever else you can go, the mountains, hillsides, and oceans, and their memories of Woody McGuffrey. And then Jeremy O'Toole finally asked him, Crocketer, if you know you're deaf, why don't you just get a hearing aid so you don't have to play your music so loudly? And then this stunned Crocketer, and he was silent for 3 seconds. And then he replied, that's sound reasoning, Jeremy. Why don't I get a hearing aid? Now, where do you think I could get a hearing aid of such magnitude? I mean, in the town of Schoenboek is only full of not quite dwarf, not quite people. They don't quite have skills since they're not quite people. Jeremy O'Toole thought for a minute, and then he remembered in their dance of the not quite dwarf, not quite people, there was one person who had such a skill of handcrafting hearing aids, and his name was... Well, do you remember what his name was?
I believe it was Binglebart.
Binglebart! His name was Binglebart. So Jeremy went down the Crocodile Hill back to Binglebart and he asked him, Binglebart, could you please make a great hearing aid so that Crocodile can listen to his music at a reasonable level and not shatter the earth with earth-shattering quakes? Binglebart's like, Jeremy O'Toole, that is a great task you asked me. It would take the culmination of all my years as a handcrafting ear aid maker. Well, I'll do it, Jeremy. Why not? If it's to help the not quite dwarf, not quite people, I can do whatever I can to help Schoenboek. Now, Binglebart worked tirelessly all night on this great, amazing hearing aid. And Jeremy O'Toole watched. One, because he was always interested in how hearing aids were made. And two, because he was very bored. Since they're not quite dwarfs and not quite people, they don't quite do anything interesting. So there wasn't really anything else for him to do. But then, 3 o'clock in the morning, Binglebart had finished his great hearing aid of magnitude, and Jeremy O'Toole took the hearing aid back up the Crocodile Hill, into the Crocodile House, up the Crocodile Stairs, past the Crocodile Dust Mites, and found Crocodile. And then, Crocodile, I have your hearing aid. Crocodile said, What? What? I can't hear you. I'm still deaf in both ears. And then Jeremy O'Toole just handed him the hearing aid. He's like, what's this? It looks like something I should put in my ear. Then he puts it in his ear, and suddenly he heard sounds he'd never heard before. But more importantly, he heard silence. And Crocodile thought, this is good. And he thanked Jeremy O'Toole for the great help he had given him. And Jeremy O'Toole also thought that this was good. And as he left Schoenboek, he waved goodbye to the not quite dwarf, not quite people who waddled up to him and said, thank you, Jeremy O'Toole, for all the help, and now we can dance ceremoniously without fear of shattering earth shatters that shatter the earth. And Jeremy O'Toole thought that this was good, and he continued his travels from the mountains to the hillsides to the oceans and to wherever else he could go. There are mountains, hillsides, and oceans. I hope that you can take away some moral of a story from this great tale of Jeremy O'Toole. I can think of several off the top of my head. One, if you're deaf, you should have a hearing aid. 2, dwarfs aren't really people. 3, well, what did you learn?
Ceremoniously dance a lot.
Yes, you should. You should always ceremoniously dance. As you travel from the mountains to the hillsides to the oceans, and to wherever else you can go, there are mountains, hillsides, and oceans.
Get off the stage!